If you've ever read Halo: The Fall of Reach or have a passing familiarity with the Halo EU, or just seen a certain recent video of mine, you've probably heard of Operation Red Flag, a last-ditch effort to end the Covenant War after 27 years. First mentioned in the aforementioned Halo: The Fall of Reach, Operation Red Flag was something of a MacGuffin simply meant to get all the Spartan 2s to Reach so 99% of them could be killed so that the Master Chief could be quote-unquote the last Spartan by the start of Halo CE. Despite the narrative purpose, a not entirely unpopular discussion since those days has been whether Red Flag could have worked. Could capturing a part of the Covenant leadership, or all of the Covenant leadership, have ended the Human Covenant War? The answer is no. Thanks for watching, this has been Halo Canon, I'll see you all next time. Okay, so while that is the definitive answer to the question I've presented, this is a lore channel, we don't take the easy route. So, to reiterate, could Operation Red Flag have worked? To thoroughly answer that question, we first need to understand what Red Flag entailed. Halo: The Fall of Reach gives us a number of details for Operation Red Flag, mostly from a high-level point of view. But after the release of Halo Reach and everything that entailed, Red Flag would need to be revisited as part of 343's efforts to clean up the plethora of plot issues presented between Halo Reach and Halo: The Fall of Reach. And it is here that we finally got full details on the operation. Following the Battle of Sigma Octantis IV on July 18, 2552, the head of the Office of Naval Intelligence, Admiral Margaret Parangowski, reached out to Admiral Michael Stanforth. She noted that analysis of Covenant movement patterns over the previous 9 months predicted a probability of the Covenant finding Reach in the ensuing 5 months to be over 87%, the highest it had ever been. As such, she wanted to start a serious consideration for Operation Red Flag. By August 1st, Stanforth would send the specs for Red Flag. Summary/intent. Secure capture of a living high prophet for the purposes of bartering a formal ceasefire with the Covenant. Preliminary inquiry. Evidence suggests that the capture of a Tier 1 asset would provide enough political leverage for a ceasefire AF-23. The problem, of course, is getting a hold of the right asset, and in this case, a high prophet, one of the few key members of their leadership cast. Current intel indicates that there are only 3 in existence, and that they reside in the mobile dome ship structure the Covenant refer to as High Charity, or on occasion, a flagship carrier, Class 5 CSO/CAS, neither of which we've had real access to before. Not permanent access at least, RL-54. Objective. Use a substantially sized, high-impact team of Spartan 2 military personnel wearing qualified Mjolnir gear to assault a Covenant vessel, acquire full unmitigated control, and return it without suspicion back to the dome ship structure. There, the team would split up into discrete covert splinter groups, gather sufficient intel, seize an appropriately targeted Tier 1 asset, and withdraw back to a ship, securing ad hoc exfiltration. Collateral. The need for a Class 5 is paramount to the success of this operation, but it would likely require the sacrifice of a colony of sufficient value to the Covenant, potentially one with a high accretion of alien artifacts of non-Covenant origin, such as the volumes recorded on Harvest, Meridian, Arcadia, or even Reach. We would have to lower our defenses, draw in the enemy, and then acquire transport by force. The collateral is where we see the major change to Red Flag's requirements from those presented in The Fall of Reach. In order to draw the Covenant in for a ship to be captured, an entire colony would need to be sacrificed, specifically one rich in Forerunner artifacts. Why a Forerunner-rich colony? While it isn't specified, I would imagine that this is to ensure enough time to capture a Covenant ship. We can see with planets like Harvest and Meridian, and even Arcadia to a much lesser extent, that the presence of Forerunner artifacts ensures a longer period of Covenant activity prior to glassing, meaning more opportunity for a ship to be boarded and hijacked. In his message to Parangowski on August 1st, Stanforth refuses to even entertain the use of Reach for the operation unless a Covenant presence was already detected and the planet deemed indefensible. While a Covenant presence had been detected as early as July 24th, Reach would be considered indefensible by August 14th at the very least. Lastly, let's look at the resource and personnel requisition for Red Flag. Spartan 2 personnel 20 to 30 under NavSpec WEP Operational Command. Mjolnir Mark V software suite capable of construct piggyback. Gen 3 Plus AI construct extensively programmed with Covenant system intrusion software. full refit on Marathon class or augmented Halcyon class with 2510 structure parameters, veteran naval CO and crew, preferably someone with at least a decade under his or her belt. In its final form, Operation Red Flag would entail the use of 25 Spartan II personnel, outfitted with the latest generational upgrade of Mark V Mjolnir armor, aided by the 3rd generation Smart AI Cortana. These assets would be stationed aboard the UNSC Pillar of Autumn, a Halcyon-class cruiser that notably featured a honeycomb superstructure that made the ship incredibly resistant to debilitating damage. This superstructure could allow the ship to remain operational despite breaches to all compartments and losing 90% of its armor. The Autumn specifically would be further augmented with a full refit, notably upgrading its engines and magnetic accelerator cannon, making it one of the deadliest ships in the UNSC service. And of course, the ship would be captained by Captain Jacob Keyes, the recent hero of Sigma Octantis IV and a skilled commander. On August 25th, Keyes was informed of his new command and the true scope of Operation Red Flag, one of the few to know the full details and that Reach would almost certainly fall. On August 27th, the Spartan IIs would be briefed on their role in Red Flag, though the part about using Reach for bait would be notably left out. And of course, on August 30th, the plan would be enacted. So with that, we can finally start to answer the question of whether the operation could have realistically worked. We'll assume, for the sake of discussion, that the Spartans were able to hijack a Covenant ship during the Battle of Reach and, with Cortana's help and guidance, make it to High Charity. In a lot of ways, this would be the easy part. As early as the fall of Reach, we see demonstrated the ability for Spartans to board Covenant ships, and the more recent book, Silent Storm, shows that the UNSC took full advantage of this with the titular operation. Once arriving at High Charity, the Spartans would have to dock with the Holy City and deal with any dock crews. We don't have much information on docking procedures at High Charity, but when docking with the Covenant space station unyielding Hierophant in Halo First Strike, John 117 and a few other Spartans only encounter engineers and a couple of Ungoi. High Charity might have similar dock security, it might not, it's impossible to say. Whatever the case were, I'm confident Spartans would be able to handle it. Depending on what intel they have on High Charity though, they might be able to use what are referred to as the Shadow Port umbilicals, ports often used by smugglers and heretical cultists. But again, whatever the case, once on board, the Spartans would have to sneak through the Holy City until they found the High Prophets, a task greatly aided by the continued presence of Cortana, and then sneak out. This is certainly something that Spartans aren't unfamiliar with on some level, seeing as they have captured insurrectionist leaders in the past. Here is where we start getting into questions as to the efficacy of Red Flag though. I don't think that the majority of the mission would be all that difficult, relatively speaking, but could the life of a High Prophet be used as leverage for peace? In short, probably, almost certainly not. If any one High Prophet were captured, the remaining two would almost certainly see it as an opportunity to seize additional power, especially if Truth were one of the two that remained uncaptured. We've seen exactly how much they care for each other in Halo 2, where Truth and Mercy basically let Regret get killed, and Truth is more than happy to let Mercy fall to the Flood. To make matters worse, I'm sure that the remaining prophets would use this as an excuse to step up aggression against humanity. And again, if Truth were one of the prophets not captured, he'd almost certainly step up his plans of replacing elites with brutes. The only chance for Red Flag to work in any capacity would be if all three High Prophets were captured, and even then, I have my doubts about it working. If Truth, Mercy, and Regret were all captured, other prophets would surely take the opportunity to seize power, and again step up aggression against humanity as revenge, in air quotes. At best, I think humanity can hope for some brief breathing room as the ensuing power vacuum is sorted out, maybe even some useful intel if they torture the prophets they capture. But an end to the war? Unlikely to say the least. A better option would have been to try and smuggle a Nova bomb into High Charity and its home fleet, basically eliminating all Covenant leadership and one of the Covenant's most powerful fleets. If you're unaware, a Nova bomb is basically a high-yield nuclear bomb. One instance, when detonated aboard a ship holding position between a Covenant colony and its moon, scorched the entire colony, shattered the moon, and destroyed over 300 ships, only 22 surviving because they jumped to slipspace just in time. Another instance destroyed a Sangheili colony called Glyke. But that's the benefit of hindsight, or a bird's eye view of the situation. In the end, Red Flag was doomed to fail because of Covenant politics that the UNSC had no way of knowing. No capture of one prophet, or any number of prophets, could have ensured the war ended any sooner. The only reason the deaths of the High Prophets between Halo 2 and 3, quote, ended the war, is because of the Great Schism concurrent or prior to their deaths, the fall of High Charity, and the subsequent deaths of many Sanshayub during the Flood invasion of High Charity and the Great Schism. So I hope you enjoyed this lengthy look at Operation Red Flag and whether it could have worked. It's a topic I've wanted to discuss for a long time. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this has been Halo Canon. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and if you really love me, hit that notification bell and leave a thumbs up. These both really help out the channel. I wouldn't be where I am now without your views and support, so once again, thank you. Keep on being awesome, Canonites.